Hey everyone, Clawland here, and you're in store for a special episode of Left Hand Reviews. So let me give you a little bit of background. I have been suffering from lower back problems for many years now, and it got to a point recently where I had to go and have some outpatient procedures because I couldn't get out of bed, I couldn't walk, I couldn't even move, let alone get up to go to the bathroom, etc. So after that experience, I vowed I never wanted to have to go through that again. So I was trying to think all the different things in my life that strain my lower back. And I basically came to two major factors that contribute to my lower back pain. The first is sitting all day at work. By trade, I am a business intelligence programmer in SQL Server. So basically I sit in front of a computer all day and write code. So that I'm remedying through work, so that's another story. But the other thing that really exacerbates my back pain is board gaming. And you might not think about it initially, but the problem is when you're playing board games, you're constantly leaning over the table, and when you lean, you're putting a lot of extra strain on your lower back, especially since obviously my core muscles are not as strong as they could be. They're not taking the brunt of that bending, my lower back is instead. So I started doing some research online, and I do upstairs have a counter height table, and a friend of mine has a counter height table as well. And recently we were gaming at his house on that table, and I stood most of that gaming session, and that table's a lot higher, and therefore there's a lot less bending that has to occur. So I started thinking, why don't I get a counter height table for board gaming? Easy enough. And then, put that off to the side. So then I'm thinking about how to fix my problem at work, and obviously the most common solution is a standing height desk. So I'm researching online all the different standing height desks. The problem is they're all really ugly. They all look the same. They're two legs and a tabletop. Unfortunately, I work, not necessarily unfortunately, but I happen to work for a home furnishings company, an upscale home furnishings company. So all of our offices are outfitted with our furniture. So everything looks really nice. It's not your typical utilitarian desks and filing cabinets in our offices. So I wanted something that would fit in with the decor in my office. So I came across a company called the Human Solution, which manufactures an adjustable height standing desk called the Uplift. And the Uplift looks more or less just like any other standing desk. It's two legs with linear actuators that lift and lower it, motorized, with a tabletop, and you have a lot of different selections of tabletop, and you get really nice ones, etc. Now, again, that didn't solve the problem that this didn't really fit in with my office. And then I came across on their website the fact that they sell just the frame, just the Uplift frame, which is the metal frame, the lifting frame, and you can provide your own tabletop. So I thought that'd be a great idea, since the way that my desk at work is put together is I can basically unbolt the tabletop from the pedestals that it sits on, put that frame underneath, and the frame telescopes in and out so that it will rest against the inside of that desk frame. Unbolt the tabletop from the pedestals, bolt it to the Uplift, so in the sitting position it's not going to look any different, but then if I want to stand, I can raise the desk up and just the desktop itself will raise. And I thought that was a great solution, and I talked to HR, and then that's happening as we speak. Now, then I thought, why don't I do the same exact thing for my gaming table? They have this frame, why can't I apply that same principle to my gaming table? Now, as you can see, my gaming table is humongous. It's 4 feet by 8 feet or so, and I put the leaf in, so it's 48 inches by about 103 inches. It's also solid mahogany, so it is extremely heavy. The tabletop alone on this is closing in on 175 to 200 pounds, and it's also very wide. The Uplift desk with the two legs is only made to accommodate up to 40 inches deep of a desk, because obviously it's not made for tables. This is kind of a new thing. So I contacted Uplift and I said, listen, I have this situation that I just outlined for you guys. But I want to apply your product to my gaming table, and I think this is a really good opportunity for you guys to get into the gaming scene, because I know there's a lot of board gamers out there, and I'm sure plenty have lower back problems, or even if they don't, would like to have the ability to transition between sitting and standing, because you burn a lot more calories standing, especially long gaming sessions. Say you're playing Eclipse or Twilight Imperium, you don't want to be sitting for 5, 10 plus hours, because that's not good on your body in general. So it's nice to have that ability to stand. So they said, well, our two-leg version is not going to work very well for you given the size of the table, but we do offer a 3-leg version. And what you can do is mount that underneath your table in a tripod configuration, and that's going to be plenty stable. And I said, that sounds like a good idea. So Uplift was kind enough to send me their Uplift 3-legged system to put onto this table, to mount this tabletop to. So this video is going to be about how to convert your existing dining room table, gaming table, or whatever you have into an adjustable height table using the Uplift desk. So without further ado, let's start it off in true left-hand review fashion, and we're going to do an unboxing. Alright, so here we have it, all 110 pounds of the Uplift 951 3-leg adjustable height desk system. Let's open this bad boy up, see what we got. I haven't even opened it yet. Came from UPS a few days ago. I was waiting till the weekend where I can have some nice lighting and plenty of time to go over it all with you. Alright, got some foam here. Alright, here we go. Got your instruction manual. It's going to tell me, I guess, exactly how to put it together. You can see on the picture, it's actually showing an L-shaped desk, which is the original purpose of this 3-legged system, but they also show on their website a tripod mount for a more deep table or desk, which is the configuration that we'll be using. Alright, looks like we have a few of the tops of the legs. This is the part that will be mounted on top of the linear actuator, and that's mounted to the bottom of the tabletop here. Alright, this looks like one of the legs, one of the feet rather, the bottom, that will be on the floor. Of course, we're going to have 3 of those. There's a second one and the third one. Very nice. It's a really nice kind of a semi-gloss black. It's not glossy, but it's not a flat black. It's kind of that almost eggshell. Alright, this would be the control panel. The control panel here has an up and a down arrow for obviously raising and lowering, but it also has 3 presets. So you can have a preset sitting level and a preset standing level, which is really nice. Alright, looks like various wire ties and screws, bolts, other hardware that will be necessary. We have all of our cables here, our power cables, and the cables that will connect the 3 linear actuators to the control box. Speaking of which, here we have the Uplift control box here. This has got all the brains in it, power supply and all that. And you're going to plug in the 3 legs and their linear actuators into this to control it moving up and down. And then we just have a few other components in here. Alright, this looks like our first actuator here. It's got this really cool Uplift logo on it. I don't believe that this comes on your standard consumer model. I believe this is just for my purposes and their purposes to show that they're a sponsor now of Left Hand Reviews. These things are heavy. Another leg. As you can see right here, very nice. finally our third leg. This will be part of the frame, I believe. I believe this will be mounted this way in between the legs, or maybe like this. I think like this, which the desktop will be on top of for stability. Alright, yep, looks like more cross members. And I believe that's everything out of here. I don't see anything else. Alright, so the next step will be, now that I've taken all this and put it on the table, to get it onto the floor and unbolt this tabletop from the two pedestals that it sits on. So now that we have the three legs put together, now I need to figure out how I'm going to mount it to the bottom of my table. So you can see the tabletop luckily has these two flat areas where the pedestals were attached. So I should be able to have no problem attaching the two main legs here to those pedestals. Now the third leg is a little bit more trouble because I don't have a nice flat surface to mount that to. So what I'm going to do is probably run to the hardware store, pick up a few pieces of MDF, and build up this area here. So I have a nice flat space from here to here-ish, and that's level with this. And then I'm going to mount the two main legs probably here and here, and I will mount the third leg here. So I ended up doing something a little bit different in that center area. I was just going to put build some wood up here and some wood up on the other side for this center cross member, but my wife, being smarter than me, recommended, why don't I just get a 3/4 inch sheet of plywood and make this all flush. Now the difference is by bolting this to the cross member here that you can't see anymore on the table, that will allow me to still insert and remove the leaf here, because the leaf and the way the table moves is independent of these two pedestal pieces. So basically, by cutting this piece of 3/4 inch oak plywood here to make a nice centerpiece, I can still remove this leaf if I need to, and it makes a really nice stable area for me to screw in that centerpiece. So obviously the next step that I've already done here is to position the three legs the way that I want them. So now what I'm going to do is put the machine screws into these 8 spots on the legs here. That's so these don't move, and so this doesn't telescope anymore. Because then what I'm going to do is basically mark where I'm going to drill. I'm going to take this off, flip it over, take that off, flip it over, and then flip the tabletop over and set it on top of this, and then obviously take that third leg and stick it underneath, because that's not going to stand up on its own. The reason that I'm not going to screw it on here first and then try to flip the table over is this combined weight of this whole thing is around 260, 275 pounds. And I'm afraid, since my wife and I are not strong enough to pick it off the ground, flip it over and set it down, I'm afraid that if we try to do this and kind of tip it over, all that weight's going to be on the two corners of these legs, and I don't want them to snap off. So we're going to set the tabletop on top after everything's flipped over, and then I'll crawl underneath there, kind of position everything, and then screw it all together. Hey, buddy. All right, so you can see what we have done is we flipped the frame over, and then flipped the tabletop over, lifted the tabletop, and set it on top of the frame. It's not screwed in at all, it's just kind of precariously sitting there. Also, the frame is centered underneath the table right now, which is where it will not be once it's screwed in. Remember that this frame will be moved off center here, and the extra leg to the left there is going to be in the back to make that tripod configuration and to make it as stable as it's going to be. You can also see that it's about hobbit sized right now because the actuators are at their lowest level, but don't worry, once we get everything put together, all the electronics hooked up, this thing will be able to raise and lower, and I bet you're excited to see that. I know I am. So let me get under here, position everything, screw it all in, and then once I finish that, I'll show you the wiring and then the finished product. All right, so I just finished attaching the tabletop to the frame. So now the next step is to mount the control box underneath the table. I have an outlet back there, so I'm probably going to mount it closer to that end. And then this will be the power cord, and then we're going to plug each one of the legs into the control box, and then finally we're going to plug in the control panel to the control box and then fire her up. Now we just need to mount the control box. Now that the control box is mounted, we just need to plug the legs into it. I'll worry about cleaning all these wires up after it is tested and confirmed working. Let's plug this baby in, moment of truth.